Hey, hello everyone. So I'm making this short video to talk about why coding for kids, why it originated in the first place, and some of the common questions that many of the parents may have about coding for kids. So first, let me start about the origins of coding for kids. So did it come about when some people started a company with various hats? This had colored hats, etc., or is it some concept that has come about far earlier? So the answer to that question is the first person who thought of coding for kids. The idea was a very well-renowned, respectable professor. His name was Professor Seymour Papert, and he was an educationist and an AI researcher. And he worked alongside. Actually, he was a student of Professor Jean Piaget. His name is also so difficult to pronounce. Jean Piaget was a Swiss biologist, but he actually, out of interest, he worked on developmental psychology. What is developmental psychology? It is the study of how human thinking evolves with age. So what kind of what kind of thinking a child is capable of, a 3 month old baby is capable of, then a child is capable of, etc., etc., in terms of how they can assimilate symbols, how they can acquire knowledge, etc. So Jean Piaget's former student was Professor Seymour Papert at MIT, and he thought of this idea of coding for kids not because the software industry was booming. No, that was not the idea. The idea of coding for kids was what came about because Professor Papert saw coding or programming as an ideal way for kids to get a playground where they can develop their thought processes. So how does this even connect? So I'll just say something that is very simple to understand. So learning by doing, that's basically it. So the idea of philosophy of constructionism, of which Professor Seymour Papert was a founder, the idea the idea of coding for kids, constructionism, is that the core idea is kids learn when they make something, when they construct something. When you construct something, that is when you construct your knowledge. And Piaget, his his teacher, or his PhD guide, or whatever his guide, was of the opinion that knowledge cannot be poured into a human brain. It is actually constructed. Your neurons get connected in different interesting ways as you observe the world and make sense of it. That was Piaget's contribution. Actually, that was not the only contribution. I mean, there was a whole a deep study of how human thinking evolves over time that Piaget contributed to the world. And based on Piaget's work, is I would assume what all curricula across the world are built on. So Papert, Piaget, so it's all education psychology, and the whole philosophy of how knowledge is acquired. So it's a very deep topic. Even I'm not totally well versed with it, but I know these guys are pundits. They have defined the people at MIT often change the way people all around the world think and do things. So so that was the background. So now quickly I'll answer some questions like, should we put pressure on kids to learn coding? No, pressure of all kinds is bad for kids. Please don't put any pressure. Then why should kids learn to code? Because they love making games. Very simple. So if they love making games, you should teach them to code. If they don't, then it's okay. There is no need to be pressurized. There is no need for any kind of FOMO, that is fear of missing out, for that all these edtech companies are putting on you. You know your neighbor's son is his neighbor's daughter is learning so much, and what about your kid? This and that. All that is, of course, you must have by now understood that all is nonsense. Your child, even if he takes the best hats classes and does all the classes, they are not going to become an entrepreneur overnight. All that is just marketing hogwash. So I would myself recommend never to get pressurized into taking a class. But definitely, kids love building games. By building games, their thought processes definitely improve, and that thought processes, when it improves, when they become more persistent, until they succeed. They don't give up on problems easily. They also learn teamwork. So all of that are definitely the benefits of learning to develop, learning to program, and learning to make games. That is one. So definitely you will see some kind of an impact on other things also, like even mathematical studies, because gaming is writing programs is a very formal process. You are defining a process or a kind of steps very formally using blocks. Now that brings us to my second question: what is the age group in which kids should learn to code? That is the age group that at Code Wizards Academy we follow is 7 to 16. At any time between that, kids are capable enough to learn programming. But then you would say, my kid cannot even type and does not even know the computer properly. How can he code? Because this is the way Papert himself had imagined, it was supposed to be a very simple way by which kids could interact. He came up with a language called Logo, which he designed himself, wrote himself. And now, as a successor of Logo, we have something called Scratch, in which you have Lego blocks which are logical. And these Lego blocks are very similar to the actual programming. They are parallel to the actual programming languages that are out there. They will tell them if something happens, then do this. If touching the monster, then get destroyed. Things like that. And if you press the space bar, then make the guy jump up. Things like that. Then you have variables. You have if then else. Then you have a for loop kind of a repeat block. So you have a lot of things that is similar to the real programming languages. Of course, this helps in their real world whenever they grow up. This will help them in their career and whatever they do later on. But really, that is not the reason why they should learn to program. They should learn to program because it gives them a lot of interesting things to do and which is enriching. It is like playing games also is very interesting. Playing sports also, sports is definitely good. I will not say anything about that. But watching TV, just lying down, that is also interesting for them. But that does not enrich them. That hollows them out. That's why this is different. So you can take away the interest from games, playing games into making of games. Another question that I would like to answer is, yeah, so kids as small as 7 can learn coding. They have done some awesome work. You can see it in this very same YouTube channel that they have done some very interesting work at the age of 7 or 8. When they start learning, they're 7. Then by the time they're done 7.5, etc., they're able to make some very interesting things and while enjoying. Then what is the other question that I get to hear commonly, Mike? Yeah, so yeah, the age group is 7 to 16. 7-year-old kids are old enough to be able to learn programming, and programming games is an altogether different thing than learning to make websites, Java backends, etc. This is purely fun, play, colorful, etc. So, in case you have any further questions, you can always post in the comment section, and I will definitely like to answer them all. And coding for kids definitely has got a very very bad name currently in the Indian context. That is because many people have abused the idea and tried to extract the last rupee out of parents and to pressurizing them. So please don't get pressured into it, but definitely don't go to the other extreme and say no without even exploring the idea. So games when kids make, they enjoy a lot, they learn a lot. Yeah, maybe there is a screen time issue that we can regulate, but they're anyway going to watch some cartoons. So they can always you can always make a deal with your kid. Like if you're going to do programming, then I'll not let you watch cartoons. And usually kids prefer the programming bit because it keeps them active, engaged, alive, etc. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll keep making such videos to answer more and more concerns from parents that keep coming up in the context of programming and even regular education. So there are some thoughts that I have to share, and I hope, I wish and I hope that you can find them valuable in your education journey with your child. Things are getting very competitive, very tough for children, but we know that the kind of education that we got in the 80s, 70s, etc., a far better version of that is available, and so kids should be able to learn far more. They should be able to go far more ahead than where we went in our school days. But at the same time, they should be there are ways by which they can do it far more comfortably than the way we did it. So thanks for watching. I'll keep sharing more thoughts on education, not only coding but in general education, school system, etc., as we go along. Thanks for watching.